This week, I talked to two of the teachers at my school to find out how they go about using lesson plans and about what our school's policies are for creating them. I have 9 interview questions I compiled, and between them, they had some different answers about how exactly they use them. The first question was, how long on average do you spend working on your lesson plans each week? For one of the teachers, they only spent about 30 minutes, but for the second, they spent a full 2 hours, and it was a large part of their individual workload. The second question was, how often do you create lesson plans? Every day, every week? Both of them did all of the work only once a week. They got everything done during one block interval of time. Our school also requires them to submit a weekly lesson plan, but not something for specifically every class. So each subject will have a lesson plan for the whole week that lists the objectives and assessments and some of the larger activities so the school can take a look at what each teacher is doing. Um, there is a specific template also that we use. The first teacher did use that specific template, but the second teacher actually used a template that he has from university from about 10 years ago back home in Sweden. He preferred that method of doing it. It's what he was more comfortable with. Some of the requirements that our school asks for are the objectives, activities, assessments, the raw knowledge about what course book we're using, the specific materials that we need for each lesson. The emphasis, however, is mostly they want to see clear objectives. That's the main part that they want us to describe, whereas their template that they give is more not a lot of room for activities or the assessment part. They mostly want to see the objectives that we have the students working towards. I asked them also how specifically do they describe the activities in their lesson plans. Do they do it in detail, writing out every single aspect, or they just give a summary to jog their memory? Basically, both of them said that they really only write enough so that they can remember what they're supposed to do. The lesson plan was more to help them than to leave a record for the school. So when they're creating an activity or assessment, they would just write down whatever they needed so that they could glance at it either during class, before class started, and they would be able to remember what it was they planned beforehand. I also asked them, do you refer to your lesson plan often while you're teaching? The first teacher said they just look at it before every class, and that's about all they need. So before the class begins, he will open up his computer and take a look at it. The second teacher does sometimes do it during class, but I got the feeling it wasn't very frequent. I also asked them how closely they follow their lesson plan. So they both also said that they stick to it pretty well, unless the students are doing either exceptionally well or having a very hard time. Then they'll either essentially jump ahead a little bit from what they planned for later in the week, or they would go back to reviewing something from the previous week. Or if they just felt they'd done a horrible job planning and they needed to come at it from a different approach. Luckily, they said that didn't happen very often. I also asked them, in what ways does your lesson plan help you to be a better teacher, as a final question. For this part, they both said it helped them to be more prepared and focused during the lesson. They didn't have to waste time thinking as much. They had already planned ahead of time. It helped them keep their composure in front of the students and to make sure the activities just ran smoother. That's the main points that they brought up for this. So in general, both teachers use the lesson plans a lot and they're a helpful part of them. And they spent varying amounts of time working on them, but they both use the lesson plans in a similar manner. And our school doesn't require for every single lesson to have an individual lesson plan every day. And I'd actually be curious to find out what the requirements are for other schools, but I didn't have the opportunity to do that this week. I hope you found this helpful and that you're able to gain a little insight from what I learned this week.